Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, entitled Mom and Kid Mad That We Don't Have Frozen Food Trays/Cups. After that, entitled Mom in Restaurant Has a Fit, tries the No You excuse because of a kid that isn't mine. After that, entitled Dad demands homeowners let him park in their yard. After that, Operation Karen. And after that, teacher embarrasses student with issues at home and gets offended when everyone gets upset with her. Now Karen told me if we can get 1,000 likes on this video, she won't try to embarrass anybody for an entire week. So please smash that like button, and if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And huge shout out to our newest channel member, Lissa Electro. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Join as a member today and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming video. Entitled Mom and Kid Mad That We Don't Have Frozen Food Trays/Cups. For context, I work at a movie theater. Cast. We've got me, entitled Mom, entitled Kid, we've got the manager, and the random customer. So yeah, I work at a movie theater and Frozen 2 just came out. I had already worked the Friday and Saturday, so I had come prepared, drank a Red Bull before my shift, and had some Advil in my backpack to take during my break. We had our mix of rude guests and nice ones. Lots of people in costume as well, mostly girls and women dressed as Elsa and Anna. Anyway, this mom and her daughter come to me. I work concession, towards the end of my shift. The daughter, probably around 6 or 7, was dressed as Elsa, right down to the hair. I noticed this and made conversation with her and the mom, just talking about Frozen and how busy the theater was. The problem began when it came time for me to take her order. She wanted a drink and popcorn for herself and a kids combo for her daughter. Now, normally, our theater gets movie-themed kids trays and cups if a movie is out around that time. We've gotten it for Dora, Angry Birds, and Addams Family. For whatever reason, we didn't get any for Frozen 2, which even I found a little stupid, but I digress. She wanted the kids combo as she was expecting a Frozen theme stuff. However, when she saw that it was our generic kids combo tray and cup, her smile slipped.
Excuse me, I want the Frozen Kids combo, not the regular one.
Sorry ma'am, but we don't have any Frozen kids combo stuff. The theater never got any.
How come?
I don't know, but trust me, I'm just as surprised as you are. She seemed to accept that when her daughter piped up.
Mummy, I want the Frozen stuff. Do you at least have any Frozen buckets?
We sometimes got buckets for popcorn that guests could buy, but those were typically saved for bigger movies, like Avenger Endgame or Star Wars. Sorry, we literally didn't get any Frozen food merch at all.
Well, what Frozen merch did you get?
Just toys and blankets. At this point, the mom is upset. The daughter is whining. There's a huge line. There were 10 of us working that day, and we all had huge lines, and it was nearing the end of my shift. Entitled Kid.
Mummy, I want Frozen. Look, now you've gone and made her upset. She is doing really good in school, and I wanted to treat her to a movie night.
Me. How? It's not my fault the theater didn't get any Frozen merch. Like I said, I'm just as surprised as you are. At this point, the daughter is losing her crap, and the people behind them are getting impatient. Me. Ma'am, would you like to order anything else? There are a lot of people behind you.
I don't give a darn about them. What am I supposed to get my daughter?
We have Frozen toys and other merch.
I'm already paying a ton for the tickets and food. Now I have to spend money on your overpriced toys?
Me. Ma'am, there is nothing I can do. Now, can we finish your order? There are other people behind you. Entitled Kid.
Mummy? Okay, fine. I'll take all this food. But is there any way I can get those toys for free?
No.
Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm paying cash, and I can't get her food and toys.
Me. I don't give a crap what you do. Just hurry it up. I kinda regret saying that, as I like to be the better person when I'm at work. But it had been a long day. She was holding up the line with her complaining, and my shift was almost over, so I wanted to go home and sleep. She looked at me like she just took a slap to the face. Entitled Kid.
Mummy, he said a bad word. That is no way to talk to a customer, you little brat. I want to speak to your manager.
So I called my manager. With this lady still holding up the line, nothing I could do. My manager came and asked what happened. The entitled mom told her everything, from the lack of frozen food merch, seriously though, who even collects that, except maybe for the bins, to my rudeness. Manager. Is that true? Me. Yes, I didn't mean it, but she refused to calm down and was holding up the line.
See? He is still giving me attitude. I demand you fire him.
Manager. I will discipline him later, but he is right. We don't have what you want and you're holding up the line. I can give you half off your food for his behavior, but nothing more.
Give me that Elsa doll too.
Sure, if you want to pay for it.
Forget you. I am never coming back to this theater again. You just lost a regular customer.
Random customer. Oh no! What will this theater do without your money? Entitled mom huffed and turned red, while her daughter was half crying, half whining. My manager finished the transaction and pulled me aside as the person taking over for me had arrived as well. She basically told me I had to stay level-headed in a situation like this and not to provoke people. She let me off with a warning and I went home. No exciting ending like other people's stories, but yeah, sometimes I really don't like the people I meet. Next we've got Entitled Mom in Restaurant Has a Fit, tries the no you excuse because of a kid that isn't mine. Yesterday for lunch, me, my significant other, and some family went to a Greek restaurant nearby. It's semi-upscale, so not the place you'd necessarily go to in a tracksuit, but not evening wear either. We sit at our reserved table when a group of 7 wanders in without a reservation. All adults, one mother with a pram, and a kid of maybe 5. They get shown a table, instantly complain it's too small, etc. They're also a bit loud, but whatever. I'm set facing their table, so I see this all as it unfolds. They order. Entitled Mom complains there is so much lamb and seafood on the menu. Well, yeah. Their starters arrive. She decides to feed her baby. Now, I don't mind this, especially as she even used a cloth to cover. No problems here. The older kid is walking around, but not being a problem. Then, to my horror, with her free hand, she starts eating, as in a full fork hovered over the baby. Trust me, this woman was not starving. Could have waited a minute. She was eating something hot, and I watched in fascinated horror as she nearly dropped the food on the kid multiple times. And then it happens. It falls right on the baby. The thin cloth didn't help, obviously, and the kid starts screaming. I felt awful for her, to be honest. She jumps up, yanks the cloth off, and tries to soothe the kid, walking towards the door. At this point, the whole restaurant is staring at her. The older kid is messing with the decorations in the restaurant, touching glass and leaving fingerprints, doesn't give a hoot about his mother at all. The rest of her table didn't seem to either. Next to our table is another family in the place, with a boy of maybe, 14? He was on his way back from the restroom when this went down and froze next to us, like everyone else. She looks around and for some reason singles me out. As the baby is still crying, stomps over and tells me that I need to teach my son that he can't stare at women in public. I look at the kid. Kid looks at me. I'm 25 and look it. I'm clearly not at all related to the boy. Like comically, obviously not. I managed to stutter out that he's not my son and that everyone is staring because of how she's acting when her other son manages to knock over a top-heavy vase filled with small decorative beads that spill everywhere instantly. I thought, yay, she'll leave me alone. But no. She starts screaming again about how my son traumatized hers and he's acting out because he's so upset. The kid actually looked sort of upset that he knocked it and tried to scoop the beads back. A waiter had a broom handy and took care of it properly. Anyway, the entitled mom just keeps ranting at me how mothers like me, I have no kids, are the reason good mothers get a bad rap. I assume she meant herself there, but I don't know. My boy, in the meantime, just walks back to his parents and tries to hide behind his actual dad. Just in case there was doubt, that's not my whiter-than-the-moon ginger significant other. I'm sitting in front of my plate, just watching her scream and scream until she presumably got sick of it. I wish I could say I said something clever, but all I came up with was, wow. She went back to her table, sat down, and yeah. The rest of the time there, she glared. The table was loud. It was so bizarre. The family next to us apologized when they left. They were super sweet, even if the boy was still mortified. Unfortunately, we'd only just gotten our own food, so we couldn't just leave. The waiters all had that universal look of, forget this table, in particular when they came over to Entitled Mom's group. The rest of the table in the meantime all acted like nothing happened. They didn't acknowledge the freakout, the screaming baby, or anything else as far as I could tell. They were, however, obnoxious as heck. I overheard them asking for stuff off their bill when we left and walked past them, and OMG, such a nuisance. I was still trying to process when we were all back home. Next we've got Entitled Dad demands homeowners let him park in their yard. This happened several years ago at a home football game, and I lived near a busy street, so there's a lot of traffic by my house. For some reason, people not from this area feel the need to drive on people's yards as if it is a parking lot rather than on the curb. Not only that, but the city and college provide visitors with free parking in lots closer to the stadium, so there's no reason for the drama that occurs over parking. On to the main event. I was talking to a few of my family's friends that have just arrived at my house for the game, and I let them park on my driveway and moved my car into the backyard. For those who don't know, some inner-city homes, such as mine, have the driveways parallel to the house rather than in direct connection from the house to the road. Cue Entitled Dad. He arrives in a shiny new F-150 and demands I let him park in my yard next to my car. They're not my friends or family, so I told them no. He was mad, but decides to turn around, and I watch him head towards another house, which also had a family gathering. I'm not sure if he talked to them first before approaching me, but I could hear them shouting at each other from 3 houses away. I figured he assumed the family's cars were also a pass to park there, but he wasn't taking no for an answer. The truck turns towards their yard and goes through their property. I could see people scrambling to get out of his way, and his truck disappears behind the house for a moment, but then he comes flying back out, runs over an old dude, and drags him out into the street. At this point, the entire family runs to the guy's aid, and I turn around to tell my family to call 911 and request an ambulance. I assumed the entitled dad was long gone after that wonderful display of, I can do whatever I want, because I was never whipped once in my life. But unfortunately, I looked back to see the grill of an F-150 headed straight towards me. As it goes off the road towards me, I try to jump out of the way, but it was too late, and my arm takes most of the impact, which sends me flying into the ground. Entitled Dad then storms over to me as I'm laying on the ground trying to process what just happened, and proceeds to scream about how it's impolite to refuse hospitality to guests and that I should be willing to allow visitors to park anywhere to accommodate them. Now, I'm pretty sure the impact and me falling on the ground didn't last for more than a few moments, so Entitled Dad either had to plan this stupid confrontation where I got knocked down, or he underestimated his stopping distance but didn't care what happened afterwards. I want to say I came up with something witty, but while he's screaming and gathering his stuff to leave, I'm just too focused on trying to get up. Thinking back on it, it was a weird feeling that I never felt again. I could hear Entitled Dad and watch his family get out, but I couldn't speak, and the only thing I could do was slowly get up and ended up walking backwards into the road without realizing. Luckily, there was no traffic because a Subaru was just sitting there blocking the road, probably because the driver was completely stunned at the whole ordeal. Luckily, there was no traffic because a Subaru was just sitting there blocking the road, probably because the driver was completely stunned at the whole ordeal. Entitled Dad and his family were gone with the truck parked horribly on my property. The street was pretty chaotic as the Subaru was still sitting there while several cars down the road had their hazards on as countless people were surrounding the old man trying to help him out. Ambulances and police arrive a few minutes later to sort this whole mess out, but thankfully, no one was seriously injured and the old man seemed like he was going to make it. A police car remained within sight of Entitled Dad's pickup for a few hours, but I never saw Entitled Dad again. The patrol car left, and the pickup was still there the next day, then disappeared while I was at work. Eventually, I moved after a landlord purchased the property to build apartments, and I never wanted anything to do with football again. Next, we've got Operation Karen. My first job after university was as a software consultant under a company that handled large, bespoke software solutions for big finance companies, banks, and our government. After about a year with a number of projects under my belt, I was sent on my way to a new client, an offshore admin department of a major UK bank, to work on some bespoke projects for the banking system. This was approaching 10 years ago. This might be a gray area for the sub, but think of my role like the IT equivalent of asking a plumber to fix your toilet. The building had maybe 30 to 40 employees and rows of desks down a long room with multiple little offices/meeting rooms adjacent. I turn up all suited and smart, meeting the manager and discussing the project. To everyone there, I was just some early 20s youngster being escorted to an interview or something. I turn up the next day looking all greenhorn and being introduced to the IT department. The first days were pretty normal. People helping me with logins, desks, the basics of a new office job to any onlooker. I'd keep speaking to the same few IT department guys and joining them on their smoke breaks. That's when a mild case of the Karen started to seep in. I was introduced to her at some point, but I had no idea who she was or what she did, and I think that irked her. Rather than ask her colleagues and find out what I was doing, she assumed I'm just the new kid and I wasn't towing company line. This started with a joking,
"I think the new guy should do the tea runs."
British office after all. I obliged. I would offer tea at least once a day to her row of desks as well. The petty power play kept increasing with things like the Friday bacon run and,
"Oh, if you are going to the printer, can you scan this for me?"
She was trying to show herself as a senior and that she was my superior. I think the best one was her inviting me to a company meeting she led on current business issues. I had been invited into many meetings before because part of my job is understanding the client's business. Then she started noticing things. I'd stroll in at 10:30 a.m. I'd leave at 4 p.m. I might have 2-hour lunch breaks. I was too casual with my sharp jeans and untucked black shirt, even though the IT department guys wore tatty jeans, trainers, and t-shirts. I'd also walk outside to take personal phone calls frequently. I was a consultant who attended our own company meetings and supporting all my other projects for other clients. I'm not on their payroll. I charged them for my time. You see, Karen was a senior in the operations room, the group who is in charge of making sure all the menial business tasks are managed and clicking buttons on bespoke software that my colleagues made to basically keep this show afloat. Some of the guys in the team actually do keep the place together, but I don't think she did. And that's when I got accosted in kitchen.
"I don't think you are taking this job very seriously. I've been keeping track of your tardiness, and I'm sure others have noticed too. I've just submitted a full briefing to your manager to let him know."
In this case, the IT department actually spend 50% of their time away from their desks, so she thinks I'm playing them when they aren't around. In reality, I'm there when they are there. I'm not an employee, Karen. I work for company. Amusingly, she never once engaged as a human being beforehand. This shocked her. In a huff, she walks out. I think she's upset that she's in the dark, and I'm sure she's just sent a serious case of the Karen mail. Problem is, I'm under NDA because I'm working on a system that has rather large access to the information of all the banking hardware and software, and our policy is not to talk about it with anyone not directly involved. One of her team was my go-to guy for access and details. To her, my account was a basic, no-access account. I'd log in, then remote onto a virtualized workstation that was out of her jurisdiction, managed by the IT guys. Here's the kicker. I think there was office politics about the email she sent out, but I didn't have a company email address to join in the fun. My IT colleagues had actually noted down all the times she approached me to do menial tasks and new boy errands, to which I charged £250 per hour under admin or contingency budgets. She racked up enough costs to easily cover hiring a junior employee. The reason why she wasn't informed, as I found out later that year for a new project, was that I was building a centralized intranet service that managed all the banking server information, hardware details, licenses, permission systems, and so forth, in a way to hand control back to the qualified IT guys and severely lighten up the redundant parts of the operations team who are frankly unqualified to manage banking infrastructure. She was in her early 50s, pushing close to a six-figure salary to run through a daily checklist she wrote in Excel of jobs to delegate out to others. Essentially, got paid to do a lot of forget all for years on end. Being a consultant is a funny job, a tough one at times. Some people treat you like their knight in shining armor as you fix all their crap or improve their daily lives. Others see you as scammers, and others see you as the horseman of their incompetency. Karen, however, couldn't see 2 feet in front of her superiority complex until a naive 23-year-old automated her job. She wasn't there a few months later when I came back to build upon the previous work. Next we've got teacher embarrasses student with issues at home and gets offended when everyone gets upset with her. This was in my freshman year of high school when I took a health class. I had the worst teacher in existence. I have plenty of more stories about her. I have plans of posting another about how she insults a boy who wants to go into the military, but that's for another day. So there's this one kid who we will refer to as Troubled Kid. He was starting to miss class a bit, and then it turned into a lot. Almost all of those were excused absences or tardies, and I guess one day my heartless teacher just had enough. Student walks into class with an excused tardy note. Not only is he late, but he hasn't been to class in a week. Teacher:
Oh, so the delinquent finally decides to show up.
Student ignores the insult. Sorry for being late. I've missed quite a few days of class. What do I need to catch up on?
Why the heck have you been gone for a whole dang week? That's unacceptable. If you cared about this class, you would be here every day and on time. Obviously, you don't care. So I don't care. You're on your own.
Now it was nearing the end of the semester, and everyone is required to take and pass gym and health. If he failed, he would be forced to take it again, because otherwise he won't graduate. Student: I care. I've just had more pressing matters.
Nothing is more important than your education.
I've got some problems at home right now, and I haven't been able to come to school. Everything's hectic. Please, I need your help.
That's not my problem. You should have come to class. I give my all to teaching my students, and you aren't giving your all to learn.
At this point, one of student's friends started attempting to defend him to no avail. Friend: You're not being fair, teacher. I know what's going on, and it's actually pretty strong of him to even be in school right now. Random student: Not to mention, as a teacher, it is still your job to make sure students know what they need to know for the test. At this point, a lot of people in the class began yelling at her, defending the student. Teacher:
You all need to shut up. I'm the teacher, so I ultimately decide what's right. He didn't prioritize school, so I'm not going to prioritize him. Besides, all the assignments are up on my webpage.
Student: So I can at least make up my missing assignments? What about the partner projects? I don't have a partner.
Then you can take the 0 for that.
Now the whole class definitely went off on her for that. After that, she yelled at the class and threatened to call the administrator and give the student detention for disrupting the class. We all went back to doing our work, and student went to his desk practically in tears. He ended up calling his sister to check him out of school before the class even ended. The next day, when he didn't come to school, everyone practically gave her the cold shoulder, even her favorite students. She complained about us being childish and how you shouldn't disrespect teachers or your elders, but no one gave a darn. And shout out to our Regenerals of the day, to Ballistic, Joshua, Timberwolf, and the King of Anons. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by leaving as many reads as you can in the comments below.